Hello YouTube. Just last Monday, I posted a video on Alex Eubank's decision to turn in his natty card, which coincidentally happened at the exact same time that Jeff Nippard got assaulted by Mike Van Wyck. It's funny how on social media and fitness in particular, it seems like nothing happens for a long time, and then all hell breaks loose and all of the drama happens at once. If you're interested, the concept of synchronicity tries to explain that phenomenon. But anyways, I was one of the first people to be aware of this news because a bunch of subscribers sent me the information the second it happened. And so I could have made a reaction video that could have dropped the next day and could have gotten plenty of views. But I decided to wait and not do that for three reasons. Number one, because my channel is not monetized, so even if I make 50 million views, it means nothing to me whatsoever. This is the reason why I prefer to work off of memberships and donations. And actually, if you want to support the channel staying unmonetized, you can do so by clicking the first link in the description. It's the coffee page. You can pledge $3 to $5 a month, and that makes a huge difference because it allows me to spend more time making videos. But that's not the only reason why I didn't make that reaction video that could have gotten me clout and fame. It's also because even though I'm not close friends with Jeff, I knew for a fact that he would most likely want some time and space away from the drama to recover, and when you make a reaction video, you add fuel to the fire. And I didn't want to do that. I think it's not the decent thing to do. Instead, I think it would be much more interesting to turn this into an opportunity to roast Mike Van Wyck, because I have always thought that the guy was a great big idiot, and this event actually proved me right. So this is going to be a character study, if you will. We're going to look at the event and the context and information around it, and we're just going to make fun of the guy because he deserves it. By the way, for some of you guys, you know I already made one video on Mike Van Wyck a year ago that is now being recommended to a lot of people. If you missed it, it's in the description. It's 50 minutes of me just destroying the guy. I highly recommend it. But first, let us start with this video. So, I want to begin by discussing what motivated the attack, because it seems like many people don't know it. If you look at it from the outside, and if you just look at the video, some might think that Jeff Nippard fucked Mike Van Wyck's mother, then took his lunch money, because the reaction and the severity of the assault is quite out there, and you would think that for someone to react so violently, something must have triggered him. The truth of the matter is that this entire thing was actually started by a simple Instagram post that Jeff Nippard made as a reaction to Mike. So Jeff wasn't just going after Mike for like no reason, it's because Mike targeted him, and so he decided to just make a response. And unlike what you might think, it wasn't a response that was violent or vulgar. It's Jeff Nippard we're talking about. Even though Mike Van Wyck is a vulgar creature and he was calling science-based influencers pathetic and mediocre, Jeff never actually went there. So first and foremost, I'm going to play you that clip so that you can make an opinion for yourself.
We all know the science-based guys. Science guys really need to answer this question before anything. Why is it that you remain so mediocre, yet you know so much?
I know I don't need to respond to this, but since he asked, using science-based training, I won Natural Bodybuilding Nationals. I earned my pro card on the most competitive stage in the World Natural Bodybuilding Federation. I placed second in my first bodybuilding pro show, and while doing this, I set the Canadian record on the bench press, and I set a provincial record on the squat. I currently weigh 180 pounds at 5 foot 5 inches tall, which is pretty close to my natural limit given my height and my genetics. That's all besides the point though, because facts are facts. Information is either right or wrong. It doesn't matter who that information is coming from. I like science because it gives me more confidence in what actually works and what doesn't, because it isolates variables. If you trust a big guy's advice over scientific studies, that doesn't bother me. I listen to what big guys have to say too.
So, you can disagree with Jeff here, but all in all, you have to admit it's a pretty balanced response and it's highly reasonable in nature. Jeff doesn't insult Mike, even though he should, and he remains polite throughout the entire thing and information-based, something that we all expect from Nippard. But for some reason, this was enough for Mike Van Wyck to decide to put hands on Jeff, which, by the way, is clearly taken by surprise because I don't think he was expecting that type of reaction. Which points to one thing. Mike Van Wyck is deeply emotionally fragile. And for a guy who is all about machismo and being tough and being big and look at me how huge I am and natties are pathetic, I think that this is actually quite interesting because look how easy it was to break the guy's ego. One tiny post by a guy who's just stating his opinion, stating facts, was all it took for one of these dudes, this big steroid user type that's like all tough and shit, to just lose their marbles completely and go apeshit. And that is a pattern I've noticed with these steroid types, these steroid losers. They tend to have very fragile egos and they tend to not be very secure in their masculinity. And this event points to that. But it also points to something else. The guy is not fit to be an educator. He is not fit to have an influence on people. Because look at the way he handles himself in situations of stress or when he gets contradicted. And I already knew that because I already, as I said, spent 50 minutes breaking down the fact that the guy had the logical abilities of a dead golfer. He's incapable of making solid points. And so I would look at anything he says in the realm of fitness with a lot of suspicion because to me, that does not bode well to his ability to actually create material and advice that would be best advisable for people to follow. For the simple reason that being an educator, being an influencer is not just about saying, I think this, I believe that. It's also having the ability to take in the opposing view and criticism and deal with it in a constructive manner, like a civilized human being. If you are not able to take in the opposite camp's viewpoint and you have to resort to violence to win, then it shows that most likely you are not actually secure in your positions, you don't have the intellectual ability to defend your positions without resorting to violence, and you are someone who is deeply emotional and therefore could not really be trusted to give reasonable advice. Because think about this for 1 second. YouTube fitness and fitness on social media in general is 90% comparing your ideas and methods to others and going back and forth to see who's right. That's pretty much what we do. It's just an endless dick measuring contest. But if done properly, the audience actually benefits because the audience gets to learn something and they also get to work on their critical thinking skills because they get to themselves decide who they think is right. But in this scenario, what Mike Van Wyck did is the exact opposite. He went ooga booga, me stronger than you are on Jeff Nippard, and I don't think that anyone can actually learn anything from that. And he did that strictly because I think that deep down he knew that if he attempted to face Jeff in the realm of the intellect, he was going to lose. And this sends a horrible message to the fitness community at large because if someone disagrees with you about training, this is a chance for you to learn more. This is a chance for you to try and understand where they're coming from, maybe learn from their training a bit to modify yours to become better. But no, in this case, if you follow that guy's advice, just simply punch them in the throat and that's it. The problem goes away. And now you're right. But are you right? No. If someone dissents or disagrees and you kill them, yeah, technically you won, but the person that lost is the great we, it's the community. Because at the end of the day, you just eliminated the opposing voice. You did not actually oppose anything valuable to it. And if I were to be cheeky, I would say that this is an issue in society as a whole. The fact that we're no longer able to discuss and we have to resort to violence, being verbal or physical, to shut down the opponent is a sign that we are becoming dumber as a species because we refuse to practice logos, we refuse to practice logic and to interact with one another because violence is much easier. But fitness is already dogmatic enough as is. Because keep also this thing in mind. The entire assault was motivated by the fact that Jeff disagreed with Mike. That's it. The video I showed you is the entirety of it. There was no provocation, there was no insult, there was no threat. I've seen people trying to make the claim that, oh, Jeff started it. Really? Jeff Nippard, the Jeff that we all know, started it? He went up to Mike saying, oh, puff up your chest, we're gonna fight, bro. Come the fuck on. That's so unrealistic for Jeff. We all know that's not what happened. And witnesses on the scene that saw the entire thing go down also corroborated that this did not happen. Mike Van Wyck came up to Jeff out of the fucking blue, bumped into him, mumbled some bullshit about, oh, we'll see, like a fucking idiot. And then when Jeff approached like a human to be like, sorry, chief, I didn't catch that, he sucker punched him in the throat. And I believe it's key to reiterate this point as much as possible because Mike Van Wyck is a pathetic mind-child who is incapable of self-regulation. If you know anything about the early stages of development, you know that self-regulation is a skill that one usually learns during toddlerhood. So by the age of 5, you should be good. But for some reason, the guy is not able to do that. And it doesn't just stop there, because on top of being, how can I put it, developmentally retarded, Mike Van Wyck is also a coward. Because if you look at the clip, you can clearly tell that Jeff was completely unprepared. He was taken by surprise. And that's because, as I explained, Jeff didn't have any aggressive intentions towards Mike. He thought he was just going to be able to discuss the matter in a civilized fashion, as adult males of the species Homo sapiens tend to do. And so he got sucker punched in the throat twice, actually fucking twice, because Jeff went down, stood up, and that troglodyte punched him again. And naturally, Jeff didn't put up a fight because, well, he was shocked. He was in a gym environment where usually you don't get randomly assaulted. He was just trying to talk to a guy that is a fellow influencer that he had a few words with. At no point in his head did he think, oh yeah, that's the time where someone sucker punches me. Yeah, totally. It's totally in context. It's totally justified. Right? If you really think like this, you need to go outside and touch grass. I've seen people trying to defend Mike by saying that, oh, it's how men handle conflict. Jeff should have been prepared. Jeff should have been prepared? But prepared for what? If I come up behind you, like you're drinking a beer with your buddies, I come up behind you and I smash a bottle on your head because you bumped into me 2 hours earlier. Can I just then claim that I won the fight and that you're a pussy? No, because I caught you by surprise. And in your head, you never thought, oh yeah, the guy that I bumped into 2 hours ago, he's totally justified to do that, so I better be on my guard. At no point is this reasonable or logical. If this is your standard of what makes a man, if this is your standard of masculinity, then you have shit standards, I'm sorry to say that. Now, it doesn't mean that Jeff would have been able to hold his own in a one-on-one battle with the dude, because at the end of the day, there's a huge size difference and weight difference between the two. But to me, it's very revealing that Mike Van Wyck, knowing he had that insane advantage over Jeff, still decided to go in for the surprise attack. Because there is a reason why we call it a sucker punch. It's because it's something that suckers do. It's not chivalrous, it's not noble, it's not alpha, it's not masculine, it's pathetic as fuck. Every single time I see a video of someone getting sucker punched, every time I've been sucker punched, or someone I've seen sucker punch someone else, I never think, oh yeah, what a chad. No, I think, what a fucking beta bitch. So you can't square up, you can't fight like a man, you have to take someone by surprise, someone who is like almost 70, 80 pounds lighter than you, really? But it's not that surprising. Mike Van Wyck is a bully, and that's what bullies do. They pick fights that they know they can win because they're the only ones in it. But that might just be me projecting onto the situation things that I don't know about. At the end of the day, maybe Mike Van Wyck is this like total scrapper who is a badass UFC fighter who has a long record of beating people in the cage. Who knows? And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this unrestrained display of baboon behavior is actually the sign of an alpha male personality, as I've seen so many people fucking claiming. So, to confirm this potential scenario, I managed to find another instance of Mike trying really hard to compensate for his micro penis during a fitness expo where he threatens to fight someone who I suppose might have sneezed too close to him, which has triggered his fragile feelings, and then he needs to fight. The thing being that in this one, the guy is much closer to Mike when it comes to size, and he's also taller than him. And two, the guy is also apparently willing to fight. And wouldn't you fucking know it, Mike backs off. He pussies out, he runs away. Why? Well, because he doesn't have an unfair advantage in this scenario. The guy is the same size, and the guy cannot be taken by surprise. So we see that, interestingly, the super alpha Chad male, Mike Van Wyck, when in a situation where he cannot overwhelm a much smaller opponent by surprise, seems much less interested in confrontation. Interesting. Funny how that works. And I also want to point out how ridiculous it is to pretend to be some tough guy when you need an entire entourage of goons to feel confident in the first place. Last I checked, real men fight their battles by themselves. They don't need backup just in case something goes wrong. To me, the fact that we have gotten to the point where wannabe gangbangers like Mike Van Wyck not only manage to get a sizable audience, but are also respected and listened to by many, is the sign that the fitness industry is just one giant cancerous blob, and we let it get that way because we have stopped to push back. I know that a lot of people don't like Jeff Nippard. I understand. Some people don't like him because he's science-based, some people don't like him because he's short, others because he's more handsome than them. I'm personally in this camp. But at the end of the day, Jeff Nippard is someone who has spent years producing content for the fitness community. And as of right now, he is one, if not the biggest name in our industry. In a sense, as I said in the past, he is our Mr. Beast. But unlike that freak, the guy is actually nice. And the guy is actually a decent person. And frankly, considering the other big names in the industry that could replace him, I really think we should count ourselves lucky. Because there are so many delusional grifters who give bad information that could be in his place again. Phoenix. Sorry. So to me, when someone like that, someone like Jeff, who is a positive influence, who has a good physique, who is strong, who gives good advice, whether you agree with him or not, and who is overall a pretty swell guy, gets randomly assaulted by some steroid loser over essentially nothing, I think that the community is justified in pushing back. And we're doing this because, to me, even though I am beyond good and evil, I can clearly see that there is a guy that is correct and there is a guy that is just a violent criminal. And as for all of the other steroid users who defend Mike Van Wyck because he their body, shame on you. I agree that it's good to be loyal to your friend, but if your friend is a sociopathic piece of shit and you stand by him, then you enable that behavior. And that is a horrible message to give to the fitness community. Because think about it for 1 second. Imagine the ones who are not yet part of our community. And they look at it from the outside. And they see you defend a random assault on an innocent person in the gym. Do you think it's going to motivate them to go into the gym and to train? No, not at all. So if the goal is truly to get the entirety of the human population on board with this fitness shit, then people like Mike Van Wyck got to go. Because if your skin is so thin that you can't take criticism without lashing out violently, then you don't fucking belong here. So get the fuck off of the internet. And that is going to end this video, so I hope you enjoyed it. 2 drama videos in a row, not my style, but I wanted to give my opinion on it for what it's worth. We are going to be back on schedule with more relevant videos on the topic of fitness and philosophy very soon. And if you are interested in streams, I stream every Saturday from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. So I hope that I'll be seeing you there. But until then, thank you for watching. Have a good night.